Welcome back to Jawa Recaps. Today, we're diving into the supernatural horror called Elevator Game 2023. Based on the infamous online ritual, a group of friends attempt the dangerous game that promises passage to another world. But what starts as a thrill-seeking challenge quickly descends into terror as they realize some doors should never be opened. The story begins with a girl named Becky. She steps into an elevator, phone in hand, ready to try out something dangerous, an online ritual known as the elevator game. According to the legend, if you press the elevator buttons in a certain sequence, something terrifying happens. When you reach the 5th floor, a ghostly woman is said to appear. The rules are simple but strict. Keep your eyes and mouth shut until the doors close. Because if you dare to look at her even for a second, she'll attack and you won't survive. Once the doors shut, you're supposed to press the button for the 1st floor. But instead of taking you down, the elevator is said to rise all the way up to the 10th floor, opening the gateway to a blood-red world. Becky, recording everything on her phone, follows the steps. She presses the buttons, reaches the 5th floor, and squeezes her eyes shut. She tries to resist her curiosity, but it gets the better of her. Just before the doors close, she peeks. Then quickly, she presses the button for the 1st floor. The elevator shutters. Instead of going down, it climbs higher. Becky's heart races. Maybe the legend is real. But then the lift starts glitching, shaking violently, bouncing between floors before finally halting at the 10th. The doors slide open. A wave of dark, suffocating energy sweeps in. Becky freezes. She's no longer alone. A figure stands behind her. A ghostly voice whispers, "Where are you going?" And in the next moment, the ghost ends her life. Months pass after Becky's disappearance. Now we meet 5 recently graduated high school friends, Maddie, Chris, Izzy, Chloe, and Kevin. Together, they run a small horror channel. What started as a fun hobby during school has slowly turned into a full-fledged job, helping them cover their expensive college tuition. Kevin, the team's director and manager, handled everything from scheduling to sponsors. But lately, their sponsors weren't happy. In the latest episode, the product placement was barely noticeable. Furious, they demanded a reshoot. This time, making sure the product was shown clearly. Kevin promised them it would be fixed in the next video. That meant the group had to scramble to put together another episode quickly. To ease the pressure, Kevin brought in someone new. Ryan, a hardcore fan who was thrilled to join as an unpaid intern. Not everyone was on board. Chloe, the group's researcher, didn't like being rushed. She argued that without time to dig through archives for proper material, their content would lose credibility. But Kevin pushed back. He needed a quick, cheap idea. That's when Ryan spoke up. He suggested the elevator game. Simple, low budget, easy to film, and he added, it even had a local connection, the girl named Becky, who had vanished right here in this very neighborhood. Chris wasn't impressed. To him, it sounded boring. Just 20 minutes of footage inside a moving box. But with no better options, Kevin decided to go for it. Chloe, still hesitant, gave Ryan a quick tour of their studio and rooftop wellness area. She even shared her number with him in case he needed help. Soon, the team was ready. Cameras packed, gear loaded, they headed straight to the very apartment building where Becky had once disappeared. To keep their sponsors happy, Kevin wanted everyone to wear branded shirts during the shoot. The group quickly shot down the idea, except for Izzy, who agreed to wear one. It was Saturday and the office building was nearly deserted. The perfect setting for the group to sneak in. Ryan helps Izzy set up a camera inside the elevator. Once it's in place, Izzy links all the cameras to her tablet, giving them a live feed of everything happening inside. During setup, Chloe casually tells Ryan she's a total history nerd. That's why she loves digging into research. Finally, everything is ready. Chris, Maddie, and Chloe step into the elevator. Chris immediately slips into character, doing his usual over-the-top acting, while Maddie explains the rules of the game. The sequence is simple but chilling. Press the buttons in the order 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5, and finally 1. On the 5th floor, everyone must shut their eyes and keep them closed until the doors close on their own. Break the rule and the ghost woman will kill you. Just then, Izzy jumps onto the live stream for the product promotion. Chris, half joking, points at her chest with the sponsor's tagline, "Taste the health." Everyone finds it pretty gross, but the show goes on. The 3 inside the elevator treat the whole thing like a joke. They press the 4th floor, then the 2nd. Chloe takes the moment to tell Becky's story, the girl who vanished playing the same game. Meanwhile, Izzy, Ryan, and Kevin are watching from the tablet. But suddenly, the feed begins to glitch. Static flickers across the screen. Inside the elevator, when they reach the 6th floor, the lights begin to flicker violently. Maddie panics. His nerves snap and he wants to quit right there, but Chris and Chloe push him to continue. The group reaches the 10th floor. The doors slide open, but the hallway is completely empty. They head back down, aiming for the 5th floor, the point where the legend becomes real. By now, Maddie is terrified. He begs Chris not to open his eyes, whispering that he actually believes the legend now. Chris just smirks and nods. Down in the lobby, a security guard walks in for his routine rounds, forcing the others to hide. The tablet is still streaming live, but they can't see what's happening. Inside the elevator, the 3 students shut their eyes tightly. The camera keeps rolling. Chris, unable to resist, cracks his eyes open for a brief moment. Nothing happens. No ghost, no attack. He laughs under his breath. The doors finally shut. Chloe and Maddie, shaking, open their eyes and exhale in relief. Chris is still grinning as he presses the button for the 1st floor. But instead of going down, the elevator begins to rise higher and higher. Something isn't right. Maddie panicked as the elevator kept rising. He rushed forward trying to stop it, but Chris and Chloe held him back. Suddenly, the lift stopped on the 9th floor. An office worker had pressed the button to go down. The man was startled to see the students crammed inside. Moments later, the group reached the lobby safely. But before the door shut, Chloe froze. Somewhere, faint but clear, she heard the sound of a nursery rhyme. Back at the setup, Izzy realized she was in trouble. A strange interference had corrupted a huge chunk of their footage. Without it, they had nothing. A reshoot was the only option. Chris immediately refused. To him, this was just a ridiculous hoax. That's when Ryan finally revealed the truth. The missing girl, Becky, she was his younger sister. She had been a freshman in high school when Chris got involved with her, promising to feature her on their channel if she recorded the viral elevator challenge. Desperate to impress him, she tried it and vanished. The group was stunned. Izzy and Chloe's anger boiled over. They accused Chris of exploiting Becky. Chris snapped, shouting back that she hadn't been exploited, she had just run away from home. The argument exploded into a fight between Ryan and Chris right there in the lobby. Before it could get worse, the building security guards stormed in and kicked them all out. Later, Chloe tried to comfort Ryan, but she was furious too. He had lied about his intentions just to drag them into this mess. Izzy and Kevin headed back to the studio, working with whatever broken footage they had, until Izzy suddenly realized she'd left one of the cameras behind, the one still inside the elevator. They had no choice but to return to the building. By evening, Chris tried to call Chloe, wanting to talk about his feelings, but she ignored him, still furious. At her flat, she heard that same eerie rhyme again, the one from the elevator. Meanwhile, Chris entered his apartment lobby, and that's when he saw it. The ghost, the same woman who appeared when Becky vanished. She lunged at him, paralyzing him where he stood. His body went limp, catatonic. Moments later, she killed him. Across town, Maddie sat alone at a bus station, waiting for a bus that seemed to be running late. Ryan wrestled with what to do next. Fear told him to stop, but his heart reminded him his sister was still out there. Determined, he stepped back into the elevator and pressed the buttons in sequence. After the 5th floor, the lift didn't descend. Instead, it rose higher, finally halting at the 10th. When the doors opened, Ryan stepped out into a world washed in a dim red glow. It looked like his own, yet something was disturbingly different. Then he saw her. The ghost was waiting outside, watching him. In an instant, she lunged forward, forcing Ryan to run back inside and slam the door shut, barely escaping her grasp. Back in the normal world, Izzy and Kevin had retrieved the missing camera, but instead of leaving, Izzy suggested they try the game themselves just for fun. Kevin hesitated but went along. At the 5th floor, they didn't close their eyes. Izzy laughed, mocking the legend, but her smile froze as the ghost appeared behind Kevin. In one swift motion, its hand pierced through his mouth, spraying blood across Izzy. Before she could react, the ghost turned on her too. The camera caught everything. Moments later, the elevator carried their blood-stained recording up to the 10th floor where Ryan was waiting. He hurried inside only to find Izzy's camera playing back the horror of their deaths, but their bodies were gone. Meanwhile, Chloe was deep in her research. The more she read, the clearer it became. Becky wasn't the only victim. Many other girls had disappeared after playing this same terrifying game. Not long after, Chloe received a frantic call from Ryan. Panicked and out of breath, he told her everything he'd seen. She urged him to meet her at the wellness center inside the office building. Meanwhile, Maddie was in trouble of his own. Haunted by the ghost, he bolted through the streets in sheer terror. Desperate, he called Chloe, who told him to join them at the office. On his way, Matty ducked into a restaurant and began grabbing whatever he could. Salt, a lamp, anything that might help. He wanted to draw a protection circle, something he'd once seen in a horror show. But deep down, he knew it was just guesswork. The ghost stalked him again, pushing him closer to the edge. At the wellness center, Ryan poured out the truth to Chloe. He told her about the game, about what he saw in the red world, and then handed her Izzy's camera. Watching the recording left Chloe shaken. She immediately suggested going to the police until she noticed the strange circle Matty had drawn on the floor. Matty stumbled in, trembling, and told them about his encounters. But Chloe still wasn't convinced. To her, this was nothing more than an internet hoax. She explained what her research had uncovered. The origins of the game went back a decade to a group of sorority girls. Drunk and careless, they'd shoved their friend Alice into an elevator shaft as a prank. But they forgot about her. Over the weekend, the elevator malfunctioned and Alice died in the fall. Ryan and Matty insisted they needed a solution, not the cops. That's when Chloe froze. The faint humming she had been hearing all along started again. A nursery rhyme about an elevator. Hidden within the rhyme was a message, a rule none of them had known. When someone opens the door, you must close it. Only then can the ghost be driven away. Just then, the ghost appeared inside the studio, freezing Chloe in terror. Everyone hurried into the circle, clinging to the only hope of protection. Matty was sure she couldn't cross it, but he was dead wrong. She stepped right through it, grabbed him, and tore him apart. Ryan wasted no time. He pulled Chloe's hand and bolted straight to the office building. When the security guard tried to stop them from entering the elevator, Chloe sprayed him with mace and rushed inside. She quickly started the ritual. The elevator moved past the 5th floor and carried them up to the tent. This time, Chloe too saw that eerie red world. Ryan tried to slip out, desperate to find his sister, but Chloe yanked him back. Together, they slammed the door shut, and the elevator began its descent. But it didn't go smoothly. The elevator stopped once again at the 5th floor, hearts racing. Both of them closed their eyes, bracing for the ghost's attack. Then came that chilling voice. "Where do you think you're going?" Chloe couldn't help herself. She cracked one eye open and the ghost pounced. Ryan tried to resist, but eventually he too opened his eyes. Blood splattered across the elevator as the ghost consumed him. Months later, another girl stepped into the same elevator, filming herself for an Instagram reel. She mentioned how Chloe and her friends had all gone missing after playing the game. And with that, the curse lived on one victim after another. And with that, today's recap of the film called Elevator Game comes to an end. If you had the chance to try a ritual that could take you to another world, would you risk it out of curiosity? Or stay safe and never step inside the elevator? Let me know. Share your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe to Jawa Recaps, and share this video with your friends who love a good scare.